It was nearly the entire side of a skull, bigger than what your hand would cover on both sides.
But Kyle's egghead skull came off in puzzle pieces. Surgical staff had a real headache.
It took us about 40 minutes to put those pieces back together again with little plates and screws.
After the jigsaw, doctors had a madcap scheme to keep Kyle's skull cap fresh for later. Bung it in the freezer.
That jigsaw puzzle was then put in a medical freezer for future reimplantation.
So I volunteered my own freezer. I'm always worried they'd lose them or something.
Yeah, she says, I want to put it in my freezer because I know I'll take good care of it.
You really put peas in a freezer, not your skull.
The op had left Kyle looking like Frankenstein's monster, but it had worked. With the brain free to swell, the dangerous pressure was down. But what damage had been done to Kyle's tortured brain? Would he ever wake up? How severely brain damaged might he be?
I wasn't sure if he'd ever be able to talk again or walk again or interact with his family.
We just don't know if he's going to be able to see. We don't know if he'll be able to hear. We don't know if he's going to be able to move his body, his limbs and his legs.
All they could do was wait and hope. Over the weeks it took for the swelling to subside, the weird shape of his skull started to show.
You could see where his skull was missing and recesses to where his skin is resting on the brain itself.
You can actually touch the skin and feel the patient's brain.
All Dr. Welling could do was refit Kyle's skull from the freezer. But were the frozen fragments past their use-by date and fit only for the dog?
After 2 weeks in the freezer, the bone flap is perfectly fine to be put back into the patient's head.
Taking things apart is easy, but as Humpty Dumpty knows, the tricky bit is putting them back together again. It took 10 metal plates, 20 screws, and 67 staples to hold the skull bones together.
The back of my head is completely flat, and it actually caves in a little bit even. I can still feel some of the fractures in my skull. I can feel the screws that they put in to put the skull back together.
Dr. Welling's team had put Kyle Johnson back together again.
His recovery truly has been miraculous.
Doctor's orders keep Kyle off the ski slopes for now, but it won't be for long.
The day I get back on the snowboard will be a big day for me of putting the accident definitely behind me.
It's just phenomenal what has happened to him. It is a miracle.
We can look at him now and go, Kyle's here, Kyle's home. And it's a great feeling.
It may lack size and horsepower, but the lowly skateboard can be just as dangerous as fellow four-wheel drives. Each year, over 30,000 skater boys end up in A&E. Broken wrists, facial foul-ups, and mangled ankles are the most common mishaps, and about 3% of skaters kickflip into critical condition, suffering skull fractures, head injuries, or concussion.
That's sick, dude.
But it's not only sidewalk surfers whose attempts at skating skill can make them ill. Nearly 11,000 people are spliced on the ice by the fearsome footwear. More than 600 fail to spot ice rink barriers, and a massive 12,000 double axle down to A&E as a result of sprains, strains, and tumbles on the ice itself. And be careful not to skate on thin ice, lest you share the frosty fate of Annie Zoltani. The young Hungarian was practicing her moves on Lake Valence when the ice cracked beneath her and she plunged into the wintry waters. When frostbite froze her fingers, the only way she could keep her head above water was by holding onto the ice with her teeth. Thankfully, she was saved by a passerby who spotted her bobble hat bobbing in the water. Although whisked off to hospital, Kyle's condition went rapidly downhill.
Straight into John, pinning him against the breakdown truck.
Beautiful.